Can you hear me now, Wendy? No sound. All right. Can you hear me now? Candy? Should be fine. Just check it. I think the mic was not working, so I have taken off the mic. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. I hope the sound is fine because I'm not using any mic right now. Let me know if it is sounding fine or not. All right, I'll just wait for a few moments so that I can see that everything is in place right now. Okay, you can hear me. That's great. All right. Thank you for joining me today for this watercolor floral session. I am really glad to have you guys here with me, and we are going to paint this floral bouquet today. And I'll show you what exactly I use, what kind of supplies I use, and what kind of techniques I use for painting such beautiful florals. I have also provided a link to my Pinterest board from where I have taken this inspiration. I can show you the picture in case you are interested. You can actually open that up along with me. And so this is the board that I always use for inspiration. And I think this one is the bouquet that I took the inspiration from. It's not exactly what I painted, but yeah, from colors perspective and from the the arrangement perspective, this is what I have looked at, and this is my inspiration. So I'm not going to use this today. I am going to use the painting as a reference, and I'll go through all the supplies, what colors I'm using, all that stuff here. So the paper that I've used here is it's Fabriano Artistico student grade paper. I know I've mentioned that you can use any paper for this project, and I normally use Canson XL, and I was just experimenting with this paper. You can see there's so much on the back, and I just keep experimenting on different types of papers. This is Canson XL, and I found that this paper, Canson XL, is much thicker as compared to this paper, and the result was pretty good. So I thought I'll just go ahead with this paper today, but feel free to use whatever paper you have with you right now. After paper, I'll talk about the brushes. I'm going to use some of my round brushes. This is the brush that I use a lot. This is silver black velvet size 6 brush. Another one is this Raphael. This is a quill brush, and they're kind of similar in size. One thing I like about this brush is the fat belly, but I think I'll be using this brush the most. And another brush that I love is by King Art Supplies. These brushes are really good if you're looking for budget friendly nice brushes for your paintings, either if you're painting with gouache or watercolor or any other medium. I think King Art Supplies has a really good range of brushes. So these are the brushes that I might be using, and I use this palette a lot. So it's a mix of lot of old paints. I don't even remember the name of the paints. I've arranged this palette like I have reds and oranges here, yellows here, blues here, and mud colors here, and these are the greens. So I'm gonna just mix and match some of the paints here in this palette, and we are going to paint this bouquet here. Another thing that we'll need is paper towel and some water. We also may need a pencil and an eraser. I use kneadable eraser, but you can use any eraser that you have. I'm not sure whether you guys are painting with me today or not, but if you are, I would love to see your projects. If you complete your projects today with me or maybe later, please do share them on Instagram, and you can tag me using my hashtag, my username, that is Mark Disha, and I would love to see your work. So let's get started with the first steps. And the first step is actually wetting the paints, because they are really dry. So I'm just gonna add some paint over here in my palette just to activate the watercolors. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write them down in the chat. I may be looking at the chat time to time so that I can answer all your questions, if any. If you have a spray bottle, you can actually use that. I don't have any, so I just dropped in some water like this. I'll just let it like this for now, and we'll talk about the swatching. So I've taken this small sheet and I'm gonna use this brush. So you can see that I already created a swatch palette like this here on a strip of paper, just for a reference for me, just to get an idea of what colors I'm going to use. It's always a great idea to have some, idea of which colors you are going to use, which paints you are going to mix in your palette for your painting. So I use this shade a lot. This is called Permanent Rose. I love this paint, and we'll do some swatching here. So this is the full intensity of this paint. You can see this is so beautiful. And if I water it down a lot, we can get very pale pink. So this is the beauty of watercolors. If you want to, lighten your shades or make them very pale, you can actually add just water and you have different shades. We can actually get multiple shades in between these two shades as well, depending upon the water and paint ratio. And if I add some yellow in this, we'll get some oranges or coral shades. I think this is called coral, something like this. On the other hand, if I use these reds and add a tiny touch of blue here, we'll get a beautiful purple. This one. All right. And I also have this orange. We can use it as it is, but if you're interested, you can go and add a red or some yellow just to make it lighter, something like this. Then we have our greens. So the greens that I have are, this is a sap green, which I'll be using directly from the palette like this. So this is the sap green, but what I do is either I add some yellow to get a lemony green, or if I want a little, a cooler green, then I'll add some blue. So if I add some yellow here, this is the shade that we get. On the other hand, if I add some blue, let's say, we'll get this beautiful shade. So you don't have to have a lot of paints or a lot of shades in your palette. if you have primary colors with you, you can make so many beautiful different shades with watercolors. So this is the swatching. Now I'm gonna talk about some of the brush exercises that will come in handy when we are painting florals. So I'm gonna use the same brush for now, and I'll show you what kind of strokes I prefer when I'm painting the florals. So I'm gonna mix some of my pink. And for very simple basic flowers, we generally what we do is we can start with the tip of the brush like this at an angle and press and then release it like this. So this is kind of a leaf shape, but if you want to make it thicker, what you can do is you can come back and start with a gap from here, and same thing, you're gonna press it and then lift it and then join on the top like so. I hope it makes sense. Another thing that you can do is, instead of when you can see that when I released my brush from the paper, I kind of left a taper on the top. This time what I'm gonna do is I will start in the similar manner, and this time I'm just suddenly, lift my brush like this and then just spread this paint over here. So it gives me an almond kind of a shape like this. And then again, and join these edges like so. There are so many different ways to paint petals and leaves. I mean, you can discover your own style. I'm just showing you what I do, but feel free to use your own creative style if you have any, and experiment. Another way is another style of stroke that I really like is starting in the similar way and then taking a U-turn without lifting your brush and then just leaving it like that, something like this. And I'll do it in the opposite direction now, starting in the same way and taking a U-turn and then lift. So this is another way you can paint a petal. And if you're a complete beginner, let's say, and you are not very familiar with brush strokes and you're not very comfortable with how to use a brush, what you can do is, there's another smart way to handle that. Just use your brush like a pen or a pencil. So what you can do is load your brush with paint and then just draw the boundary using the tip of the brush. For example, I'm just gonna draw this and then we can fill it up as we like. And I think I have added a lot of water, then I can just clean my brush and dab it on the paper towel just to have the thirsty brush, and then just slowly lift the excess amount of water like this. And this is another way of painting a leaf. And if you look at this painting right here, you will see that these are very tiny petals. For that, what you can do is you can simply go ahead and use the tip of your brush and kind of making dots or stippling, we can call it. Just gonna tap it on the paper, something like this. Something like this. So this is what we are going to use for smaller filler flowers. And the last stroke not the last actually, there's another one. For flowers which may have very thin petals, what we can do is we can make thin petals using very thin strokes. So instead of pressing down your brush completely on the paper, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently very smartly make a thin stroke and then lift it off. And then again, do the same thing. And I can keep on moving or circulating my paper like this. And this way we can paint a flower. Something like that. So these are a few techniques that you can use to paint petals. Now let's talk about how you can achieve the similar result for leaves. There are so many ways of painting leaves and foliage, but I'm gonna show you a few which we will be using in our project today. So same thing, what I'm gonna do is start with the tip of the brush, and this time I'm holding my brush in a almost vertical position, and then press and making it longer and then release. This is one kind of a leaf, something like this. Another is making a leaf like this, similar. So what I'm going to do is press and making a curve and then release. Now I want it to be thicker, so same thing, I'm gonna press, curve and release. And I'm intentionally leaving this blank space in between just to give it a, the middle vein effect. So this is how I usually paint leaves. And for the stems, what we can do is we can simply use our brush like a pen and make these strokes like that. So I think these are the only strokes that we'll be using in the whole painting. And yeah, we can start with our project now. So for that, I'll just grab another page. And this time I'll paint on a smaller sheet so that we can finish off our project a little faster. And looking at this bouquet now, you can see that we have a bunch of flowers of different sizes and shapes. And if we look at the overall shape, if I look at the overall shape, it's kind of a V. And I always like to mark down some of the main hero areas so that I have an idea where my florals are going and how I'm going to place all the elements in the painting. So what I'm going to do is I will just mark down a very rough shape like this, just to get an idea that, okay, this is how I'm going to place all the elements. This is the containing box, we can call it. And we have some stems over here. I hope you can see my pencil marks. If not, I can just show it to you like that. And now that we have the overall container, now we can mark the placements of bigger flowers first, starting from one of the biggest flower, let's say here, and then another one here, let's say, maybe one here, a little smaller, and some florals coming over here, maybe a little smaller here. I hope you guys can see my pencil marks. I'm not sure. I don't want to make them too dark because they will be looking very bad once I apply watercolor on it. And some smaller petals here, another one here. I think this is a very good starting point for me, and I'll just bring the paper up so that you can see all those vague lines. And this is, you can see that this is very rough. I am not sketching the flowers at all because this is supposed to be loose painting, right? If we were supposed to paint in realistic style, then I would be very, very careful in sketching and all that. But since we are just doing loose florals, I'm just making these rough circles and all that. And I'm using this eraser. This is called kneadable eraser, which you can knead actually, and it picks up the graphite and it does not damage our paper at all. So I really love using this kind of eraser for my projects. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I will be mixing some of my paint in the palette before I get started with painting. So same, I'm gonna use this shade Permanent Rose, and I don't want to use it at its maximum intensity because it's too bright for me. So I'm gonna just water it down and maybe add a touch of yellow, and then I will start with the flower here, and I'm taking the U-turn approach here for the petals. And you can see I'll be mixing colors here and there because I always enjoy having some of the variation in shades in my paintings. So I don't just paint with one particular shade in one flower. You will see me mixing some yellow in one petal and using just pink in another petal, just to make it more interesting. Is anybody painting with me or just watching? Let me know. And if you find it difficult, you know, moving your hand around, you can just move your paper like this. Something like this. Again, U-turn. I think I messed this up, but it's okay. And you can see that I'm actually fixing wherever I think I need to make any changes. Not afraid of making any mistakes here. That's the whole point of this exercise, just to loosen up and relax. And we'll leave it alone until it dries, and then we'll come back to this. Now I'm gonna add some yellow, and I'm gonna work on this flower. Here I'm gonna use thinner strokes. Oh, Wendy, you're painting. Wow, I wanna see your project when you're finished. All right, so I'm gonna paint thinner flowers like this, and I'm just joining them as I'm going. For this particular flower, what I am approaching is that it's not like facing me directly. It is kind of at a 3/4 angle. So it's on the side, so it's not exactly facing towards the viewer, and it's not exactly sideways. So we can see the center of the flower somehow, but the petals on this side are going to be a little shorter. I hope it makes sense. I don't know how to even explain that. Something like this. Again, making a cup kind of a shape, you know, a bowl, as if it's holding something. And now I'll leave it like that only. Another flower that I would like to start off with on the top, and it is this flower in particular. If you can see here, this is gonna be side view of the flower, so we are not able to see the center part or the top view. We are looking at a side angle, that's what I would call. And so we are going to just paint one side of the flower. And for this, I'm gonna use the U-turn approach again, but this time I'm not going to make petals as thick as this one. So I'm going to use the tip of the brush and then come back like this. Again, tip of the brush, come back. And this petal is supposed to be curved like this. Similarly, on this side, the petals will be curved in this manner on the opposite side. Similar way here. I made this a little thicker, but that's okay. Then as we come in the center of the flower, the petals are going to be little straight because they're in the center, like this. Again, leaving it alone, and we'll let it dry. Now let's go with another flower in the same manner, and again this is kind of a 3/4 view, and the petals are going to be a little curved, and you can see I'm using it like a pen, like this. And this petal is supposed to be even shorter. Like so. And again, something like this. And our last petal. Here. All right, looks good. Next, I am going to paint another another flower, which would be coming in, like it's growing from the bottom, and then it is taking a curve like this, as if it's like it's kind of dying or something like that, or drying, and it is kind of, you know, hunched on one side. So I'm trying to use different techniques and styles and strokes for each flower, and just to get different looks. We don't have any particular specific flower that we are going to mimic here. We are just trying to make a very loose floral arrangement without anything specific in mind. And same here, a sideways flower. And now you can see that I'm just swirling my brush like so. Leave it. All right, so I think I'm done with the pink shade. Let's just go with some orange and yellows. So I'm just gonna add some yellow and orange here, just to get this beautiful coral kind of a shade, and paint more flowers. Maybe I think I'll use a yellow shade here. And now I'm going to add smaller flowers using these shades. Again, this is gonna be a sideways look of the flower. And one here. I'm sorry about that. I thought when you are live on YouTube, you won't get any calls. Like this. Let's paint one here. Any questions? Please leave them in the chat. Somehow I can actually look at the chat right now. I've been planning such classes for Skillshare, but never got into it. But I think it's a good idea to make a class on such subjects. Okay, so this one is looking good. Next, I will go with the purple shade just to get a variation because it's all orange and pink. Let's just make one orange on the left hand side, and then we'll move on to our next shade, maybe here. Okay, it's too dark. And just a little tip, in case you feel like you have added a lot of color or a lot of water on paper, like here I see that this looks very dark to me. There is a tip that you can use. Just wash your brush, make it dry, dabbing it on the this paper towel, and then just roll it over. This is called lifting, and you can just make it lighter like this. And then again coming back and work on that. Now here, this flower, you can see that I just made it like one mass. All the petals are connected, and this is also another way of making beautiful florals. They look really, really pretty, honestly. So I'm gonna make one more using the pink tone, maybe somewhere, I think here. Let's make one here because I really like this kind of florals. So I'm just making the strokes like this and pulling my brush in the center like so, or from the center to the outside of the flower. All right, now let's move on to our purple tone. So I just took some purple. I don't want to use the exact purple that we have here. So what I'm going to do is just make it lighter and add some pink in it so that we have a nice lavender kind of a shade. If you want, you can add some blue to it to get more variation. And if you want, you can actually swatch it out. Yeah, this looks good. So we can use this shade right here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is we are going to use the smaller strokes like I showed you earlier, something like this. And what I'm going to do is I'll just show you on the rough sheet first. Using such strokes, what I'm going to do is if you have seen lavender florals, they look something like this. They're very long and they have very small petals that are on that stem. So I'm gonna make something like that. And maybe we can add one on where we can add it. We can add one here or maybe here. And you can see I'm not exactly copying the same thing that I showed you as a reference. But yeah, that is a very good reference point for me to move forward for another project. So you can do the same thing whenever you're painting multiple paintings like this. You can do the same thing. And yeah, I'll leave it like that. It's like it's just that this lavender is hidden behind this orange flower. Now I'll just wash my brush and use yellow tone to add the filler florals. And this time I'm just going to add tiny florals wherever I think we can have some space filled out, because there are many negative spaces in our painting right now. We can add one here. Just, you know, these are just the dabs of paint, honestly. We are not really painting any florals. It's just the fillers that we are using. And these little strokes actually make your painting more interesting. All right. I think I can add one here as well. Maybe I'll add a little blue shade here and kind of a bunch of tiny, it's something like bunch of forget-me-nots or something like that. And here you can see I'm just using the tip of the brush and just dabbing it like this in random places, just making a circular shape, random shape like this. And just to balance it out, I'm gonna do the same thing over here so that it doesn't look very, you know, imbalanced. Now I'm just going to take a little break for just 1 minute maybe and let it dry. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please shoot them in the chat. And yeah, I would be happy to answer your questions and take a sip of water as well. All right, I think no one has any questions. That's even better. Okay, maybe I can add one of the tall florals here, something like this, and that's it. So now it's time to add the greenery. And for greenery, I'll just mix my colors, taking the sap green as the base and using some yellow just to make it more interesting. And this time I'm not going to use this brush. I would rather prefer using the Skin Art brush because this is a little longer, has nice tip, and it's easier to use. It has nice snap too. So just loading the brush. And first I'm going to make some strokes similar to these and at the bottom, just to show the bunch of, you know, stems over here, something like this, in random motions. Like we don't want them to be going in one direction, and later we can actually work on more details. Right now I'm just using one shade of green, but later I'm gonna add some more shades. So what we can do is add some dark blue to make it darker, and then do the same thing in some random areas. Just make sure that you're not, you know, going overboard and making other colors muddy. And now what I'm gonna do is I'll just intentionally going very carefully. What I'm gonna do is for each flower I'm gonna make one stem below it, just eyeballing where I can see, okay, this flower is looking like it's hanging in the air without any stem. We don't want that. Here we can add one, here we can add one, one here, one here. Here also we can add one. And this is kind of, you know, twisted like this, so I can just bring one here. And no one is actually gonna be very critical about how your lines are going and all that. In such kind of paintings, this is the beauty, that it's okay if you make any mistake. It works pretty well. And I think I have covered all the florals. Now it's time to add some leaves. So I'll just switch back to my the brush, Silver Velvet, and using my greens again, maybe add a little bit of olive green. And now first I'll start with the leaves here, as I shown you earlier, like pressing, going up and release like this. Just trying to make different leaves in different places, just to get a nice balance of everything, because we don't want it to look like it has been planned and all the, you know, elements are on their own, they're hanging in the air. So just being a little loose yet a little careful while placing your elements. So these are like, we are filling up some negative areas. And we can add some here, here, here. Where else? And don't be afraid to add some greenery like this in the middle. We can also add some leaves over here on the top, or here, or maybe here. If you want, I can share the images of both of these bouquets with you guys, so that you can practice later. If you are interested, let me know. That is also a good way to practice whenever you are in the mood. You can do it at your own time. Yep. So yeah, I think I'll leave it for now. Just we'll come back to it later and see where we can add more greenery if needed. I think we need some here actually. All right, now I'm gonna take a brownish tone. What I'll usually do is, this is Chinese brown or Chinese orange, and I mix it with this shade. I completely forgot the name of this shade. Whatever it is, it's some yellow, yellow ochre, I guess. So I'm gonna mix these two shades over here, and then we'll paint the center of these flowers. If you want, you can just use more of yellow. Some people like that. So let's just do with, mix this yellow ochre. Let's go with the yellow actually, and add a little bit of this brown. Yeah, So this is the shade that I'm gonna use, and I'm using this brush for now, and just going to make dots in the center, if you can see this. All right. Then again, in this flower as well, I think we can add more brown to it. I was very hopeful that I just got a new mic, and I don't know, it was working earlier when I was testing my live, but I don't know what happened. I hope the sound comes out well, because I'll keep this live on my YouTube channel, so you can come back and watch it again if you want to. So just dabbing it wherever I think we need to add some centers. And what else we can do is, if you want, like this flower looks very pale to me, what I can do is I can come back and take some shade of pink again, similar shade, not exactly the same, but yeah. So I can just give it a little pop of color, not painting on the overall petals, but yeah, just giving it a pop like this. Something like this. So these are the finishing details. And even for the purple shades, I think we need a little pop. So just adding more saturated paint somewhere in some area so that we have a nice color variation. And what I feel looking at this painting is that we are missing some yellow shade, but I don't know why, but always whenever I'm painting any subject, honestly, when I look at it after I complete it, I always feel like I need to add some yellow in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just taking some yellow and maybe just add some little pops of this yellow wherever I think can be added, but not overdoing it, being a little mindful here. I don't want it to be too filled out with the random colors, honestly. And I think we can still add some pop here as well. So I'll just use the tip of my brush, add some, veins and all that. Very randomly, not being very too specific or very, realistic here and in this flower as well. I just went a little overboard here, so just gonna wash my brush and just clean it up a little bit. Simple. Yep, looks good. And one more thing I just want to do, one last thing, and that is add a little dark green in some of the places. So let's just do some strokes like this, just to give it some depth. I am adding some of the dark green strokes. I would like to know, where are you guys living? Like, where are you joining from? Please do share that. I want to know if everybody's from the same area as I'm in. I'm in Milton, in Canada. And let me know, where are you guys joining from? It's so much fun doing such sessions actually. All right, guys, I think I'll call it done, because I think I don't see any area where I need to make any adjustments now. And yeah, let's call it a painting. So let me know if you guys have Indiana. Oh, nice. We were in US for the past 5 years. We just moved into Canada. It's too cold, man. It's too cold. Today it's gonna snow a lot. Virginia. Wow. I hope it's not that cold there. I know Virginia is also very cold, but not sure how much. So have you guys also painted with me today? Tennessee. Oh wow, so many people from US. Love to see that. Would you like to have such more sessions on Facebook or maybe Zoom? Let me know. I am really interested in connecting with more creative people like this, doing sessions. Since this is Facebook Live, I'm not sure whether we can talk, but Jenny said it snowed yesterday. Yeah, wow. It's gonna be very, very cold today and tomorrow here. Yeah. Shelly, yes, I painted. So I would love to see your paintings if you have. So my Instagram handle is Mark Disha, MARKDISHA. I think it's in the description as well. I have left the Pinterest board link in case you want to have some floral inspiration. You can look at that. And also I'm gonna share, if you want, I can share these paintings, pictures of these paintings with you as a reference. Let me know if you're interested. So I will send you an email today maybe. And yeah, I would love to see what you have painted with me, and please do share and tag me so that I can see that. And yeah, it was really fun. And I would also love to know how you guys, like, whether you enjoyed it or not. I need your feedback too. So let me know. All right. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Instagram or on my website, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for joining, and it was really fun. All right, maybe I'll do more sessions like this and you'll get to know about that. Thank you, Shelly. I would definitely plan out something like that. Let me know if you're interested in Zoom sessions or Facebook Lives so I can plan accordingly. So you can leave a comment under this video after we end the chat here. So yeah, I will definitely plan out something, and we can do regular basis, like every Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever suits everybody's schedule. So we can do that. All right, guys, I'm going to end the session. It was really great meeting you all, and thank you for joining me. It was a really great booster for me as well. After a long time, I've connected with more creative people. So yeah. All right, I'll plan something on Zoom soon. Thank you, Shelly. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Jeannie. Everybody, thank you who has joined here. Thank you. And see you next time. Bye-bye.